Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks hockey podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Craig. Here we are.
You never know what kind of greeting you're going to get from me these days. The formal one, the
informal.
Hi was one.
You're going to tell me about another family accident. But luckily,
none have happened.
None have happened. Touch wood. So.
Yeah. No, it's been a week. Hockey.
Hockey has happened.
You know, we're going to get into obviously everything that's happened over the course of the week. Obviously, big news with the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver Goldeneyes are still rocking. There were wins. The Goldeneyes did what they needed to do to keep their slim chances alive. The Canucks, obviously, the chances to stay alive were lost before the puck dropped this season, apparently. But
that's true.
They couldn't wreck squat this week. I mean, it was.
They tried, but the spike train definitely ran out of coal. Whatever. What do trains use these days? Electricity, probably.
Okay, first of all, if you think a train still uses coal, it's been a long time since you've actually been on a train, which would be shocking to me, seeing as you come from the old country, where the entire transportation network runs on train.
And I do love trains, actually, so I just don't science at all. I guess it's electricity on the rails, but that's all I got.
Yeah, so here in Canada, very few electric trains. They exist more so in the public transportation sector, but they're running likely on some form of diesel.
Yeah. But SkyTrains? Are they not electric?
No, they are. So that's outside of the public transportation sector.
Yeah, all right.
And that would be the local one. If you take the Via, it's diesel or diesel electric. I don't know if they have the old sort of Bud cars or whatever they were called. But anyhow, we digress. Only because the two teams in Vancouver that we talk about over the course of a season are out of the playoff picture completely. One is done, and the other one's got a couple of games to go to work on the gold plan, which I had to look it up. I wasn't aware that the gold plan was even a thing. So we'll obviously talk about what that is and how that impacts the Vancouver Goldeneyes. But how have you been, Anna? Netball season's over?
Netball season is over. I think I said already, I said last week that we won the bronze medal, so very proud of that. But it's weird. I kind of don't know what to do with myself now. I'm not going to netball every week. Now I got to figure out other forms of exercise that don't involve me. I'm better when I'm tricked into exercising, so.
So you're not going to head to the gym and pump the iron or anything like that?
I think I probably will go to the gym, but I am not a weightlifting person. I just run and maybe occasionally do some rowing or cycling. Okay.
Yeah, I've never been a gym person. Like the handful of times I've been to the gym, and my complex has one. I've been there maybe twice since we moved in 5 years ago or whatever it was. I might hit if there's a bike or a recumbent bike or a treadmill. I don't know my way around weights. I'd do more damage to myself and the equipment. I was always for
couldn't
fitness
get the treadmill
sports
to work, so that's my level.
Even when the power's not in, it tends to work when you walk on it. It just doesn't work well, but in my estimation.
This is my building also has a gym, but I used to use my office gym because that was on the 16th floor, had a beautiful view. You could spy on the Amazon workers, which was always fun, but unfortunately that is closed, so I have had to retire to my building gym, which is like a tiny carpeted room. So it's not quite as fun.
Yeah, I once floated the idea, I think actually on this podcast way back when, because Matt was giving me a hard time, and I had said, yeah, if someone wants to, like a personal trainer wants to sponsor me to get fit,
Ooh.
and in turn get shout outs on the podcast, I'd totally do it. Well, one, I don't think our listeners are personal trainers because no one ever took me up on the offer. Or two, the offer that I was proposing was such a horrible offer for them in the time and effort they'd have to spend trying to fix me because I'm broken AF. It didn't happen, but I'm like,
We'll see.
I think like I've gone through like fitness sort of orientations, and I understand what they're saying then, but then when I return on my own, I don't remember. I don't know my way around. I'm intimidated. I'm intimidated by the
Yeah,
machinery. I'm intimidated by
same.
those around me. Like I am self-conscious as heck. Like it's just, and so for me, that level of anxiety is like, nah, man, couch is so much better for me. Anyhow.
I mean, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Off the
I can't
rails.
say I've been up to a whole lot other than the fact that I've been coaching my daughter's softball team, the Pink Predators.
The
They won the
Predators.
cheer competition this weekend. It
Because they
was the
cheered
opening
hard?
ceremonies. Yeah, so like all of the teams for the associations, the girls' associations here line up at the open ceremonies, and they have a cheer competition, like create your own cheer, do a cheer, and then a poster. And there's sort of a prize awarded for like the U9, the U11, like each sort of level, there's a prize. And so out of
Yeah,
12 teams at my daughter's level, the U9, my daughter's team won the cheer for
that's awesome.
their cheer. It was pretty cool. I was actually really excited. They're all really excited and that. So that was pretty cool. So at least, someone that we're connected to is winning. You're getting bronze medals. My daughter's
Sure.
winning, softball cheer competitions. Canucks and Goldeneyes, not so much. But to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and Goldeneyes, probably best that we get into Rewind. So we'll start with the Vancouver Canucks. They had a couple of games last week to wrap up their season. They took on the Kings here at home. They took on the Oilers on the road. We had sort of suggested that the Vancouver Canucks, having started to play some fun hockey, had an opportunity to, wreck it for the Kings, and they kind of sort of did. And they had an opportunity to wreck it for the Oilers, and they kind of sort of didn't. I mean,
Yeah, they
actually, there was no
definitely did
kind
not.
of sort of there.
No,
They didn't.
decidedly did not. Yeah. I mean, very much whimper season here finishing. But Jake DeBrus keeps scoring on the power play, so I wonder if that will be a streak to start the next season. But yeah, he can do
Yeah,
that one thing.
yeah. The Canucks. So, like talking about fun hockey, the Canucks game against the Kings, is their last home game, and we've seen the Canucks when they've been, you know, out and out of the playoffs. Having these last few games as just being absolutely horrible snooze fests. It was arguably a fun game in front of the home crowd. The Canucks ended up winning the game in overtime. PD got the opening goal, not the PD you think of. It's the other PD.
The other one.
But that's sort of indicative of what we were seeing from who was on the ice. Like who was the first assist, but Kirill Kudryavtsev, who had been called up. Uh,
Yeah,
Marco
played pretty
Rossi
well.
got an opportunity.
Yeah,
You mentioned, Jake DeBrus got a power play goal. That was from Ronak and Besser. Zave Boehm from Hoglander. And again, PD, not the PD you're thinking of, the other PD. And this
yeah.
is not actually that PD either. It's the other PD.
The other PD.
And then, Jake DeBrusk scores an OT winner. But the young guys were getting opportunities finally. Because,
Yeah,
I don't know what Adam Foote was doing. I get that coaches coach for their jobs, but let's be real. The Vancouver Canucks were so out of it and look so dysfunctional as far as
yeah.
systems were. Why not have the kids play more? this past week is sort of where that opportunity happened. And, another young kid, Ty Mueller, got his first NHL goal against the Edmonton Oilers. It was a beauty goal. Problem is the Oilers had scored 17 or something like that by the time that Ty got his goal. But
yeah, that's the
who's keeping
unfortunate
track
thing.
at that point?
But yeah, it was good to see, but like it's just still so frustrating. I mean, yeah, it was good that Evander Kane never even went on the road trip, and they shut him down after his 1,000th
And
game
didn't show
ceremony.
up for didn't even
Yeah,
show up
he is
for
gone. He's
the last home game.
yeah. You know when they have like in a cartoon that like dust cloud?
Mm-hmm.
That's all that was left of him because he was gone.
Yeah, there were people who were suggesting, well, maybe he's injured. Well, Philip Hedl was there for, fan appreciation night. Like, this is a guy that we knew was hurt. Like, it was very clear. Everyone and anyone would know this. We even had sort of shared, like, it's not a good sign that we have heard absolutely nothing about his condition since this injury. Another player who happened to be present who is hurt and we had not heard much about was Thatcher Demko. But Evander Kane, who wasn't in town, couldn't be there, or whatever it was. Maybe he was in town. I don't know. Didn't see him at the casino when I was there with Marnie last night. So, again. Yeah.
But yeah, like good riddance, but like he shouldn't have been in the team in the first place. Shouldn't have
Well,
given
we're gonna get to that.
But yeah, like even the weird Hoglander grudge that Adam Foote has, like, and refuses to play him with Pedersen, even though they're both struggling players that seem to do quite well when they play with each other. That's the thing. Like, as much as you'll say that we're not ready for people might say that we're not ready for a good coach and we should still be sucking, we can't have another year under Adam Foote when, like, he is the antithesis of this sort of young player, positive hockey mentality.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying about Adam Foote, but if the team wants to rebuild and, rebuild right, Adam Foote's a great coach because the tank commander knows the tank.
I mean, he does, but like I can't see this kind of fragile.
Oh no! I mean, it's not realistic, but
yeah,
don't. If you want to tank, the commander is already under contract for another season. Let me tell you. We actually don't know the status of Adam Foote beyond the fact that he has a contract through next season because some other news happened to drop in Sweden just after the Vancouver Canucks lost to the Edmonton Oilers 1,000-1 or whatever the final score happened to be. All I know is I'm just happy that the Vancouver Canucks got more shots than the Edmonton Oilers got goals. It was kind of doubtful for a spell that was going to happen. But it did. And the news that dropped was Patrik Allvin had been relieved of his duties as general manager. But as we then learned, may still be with the organization in an alternative role. That opportunity has been sort of floated to him, and he's taking time to think about it. I think, though, we'll talk about all of that in Half Full, Half Empty.
Yes.
Because I don't want it to take away from the fact that the Vancouver Goldeneyes had a couple of games against the Seattle Torrent and did what they needed to do to, one, ensure the Torrent season was over, and two, held on to that slim chance that they might be able to punch a ticket to the playoffs. So on Tuesday, they happened to take the Torrent on at home and ended up winning that game 4-1. The final score indicative of a dominant level of play from the Vancouver Goldeneyes. I mean, the Seattle Torrent really didn't get a grade A opportunity until, I was going to say the third period, maybe the second.
Yeah,
but arguably the Goldeneyes were the team to beat each and every period of that game.
Yeah, I mean, there was no point at which I thought Seattle were going to get back into it, but I did also still have the fear because watching, like, Mashmeyer was, like, making all the saves she needed to make, but the defensive holes were still there, so that did make me nervous, and yeah, I do think it's a shame she deserved a shutout. Unfortunately, did not get one. Final score 4-1, but yeah, like enjoyable game to be at, and I got a free Barbie bum bag, so that's a win.
Sorry, a Barbie bum bag?
Barbie bum bag.
What is a bum? What is a
I
bum
can't.
bag?
I can't say the Canadian, North
Fanny
American name
pack?
for it. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it because
Oh, fanny bum. Got it.
yeah,
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay.
there
No, I
you
was
go.
just like
I can't do
having to
it.
translate
Also,
Anna to
Barbie bum
Canadian. Got it.
bag. Yeah, it's just a fun alliteration.
Yeah. I
Um,
get that part. I get. I was trying to understand what you were talking about, but I get it now. I understand.
yeah, and it was cool also to see Madison Samskevich get her first PWHL goal in her first game back at forward. So I'm hoping that's where she stays next season.
Yeah, Meisner got her first goal as a Goldeneye.
Yes, Power of Anna.
Finally. And the power of Anna cannot be held back. It can only be slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, anyhow,
that was
Vancouver Goldeneyes get the
game one.
win. Yeah, and then they go down to Seattle and they get another win. Now that game, well, a little wild.
Yeah,
Suffice
you
to
could
say,
say
I
that.
mean, it was if you were, keeping track at home, the final score is 6-5. That 6-5 score was in overtime.
Yeah.
And it came off of the back of a third period where everyone was scoring goals. Now, it would have been cool if Jen Gardner, in scoring 4 goals, scored 4 goals in the third period, but she only scored 2 there. She scored 1 in the second, and then she got the overtime winner. But she is the first player in PWHL history to score 4 goals in one game.
Yeah. And
Did you know that?
I did. Sorry, Zone. Local hero, Jen Gardner. And before we get on to the fact that, yes, Golden Knights did not win in regulation, so officially eliminated from playoff contention with that, with that 2 points instead of 3. But just to talk about that comeback briefly, and Jen Gardner's 4 goals. Now, there's a name for that in the NHL, thanks to the late, great Jason Borchford's reporting and Jumbo Joe
Anna, just
Thornton.
pulling back the curtain here. And I had to explain this to me before we hit record. So sorry to interrupt, Anna. Continue.
No. But there is a name for that. Maybe named after a male chicken. Thanks to what Jumbo
A rooster.
Joe. Yes.
But not a rooster.
But some people do call it rooster trick. That's been known. But yes. If you don't know the story, literally pause it right here and go look it up because Botch tells it better than I could. But what do you call it in the PWHL? You cannot call it a rooster trick. So I think the Goldeneyes Twitter admin, the Quackman, wanted to call it a quack trick, but I mean, what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. Like, I like the term duck trick because there's a little play on words there, but there is another suggestion, and I'm going to give anyone that's listening with children here a moment to skip forward 30 seconds. But another suggestion was calling it the clit trick, so do with that what you will.
I mean, I saw this, and just again, to let our listeners know, I'm reading the rundown, and I'm like, what? Is this like, there's got to be something here. Because, like, Anna, like, for those that know Anna, Anna, and
Yeah.
I sometimes get thrown off by Anna. And then there's other times where I read vernacular, or Anna will say things like, let's go back to the Barbie bum bag. Like, I need to translate that.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe this was an area that needed translation. It is meaning what it's sort of meaning, but in the relationship to something else. I'm like, oh, this all makes a lot of sense to me. I want to take you off the rails. So there is this in video game vernacular. If you have a character that can crouch, if you do it quickly, it's called teabagging, in the context being related to the male anatomy. Now, the somewhat respectable version of that is considered a tactical crouch, capital T for tactical and crouching. Again, that's how you'd sort of put that on the broadcast. And then at some point in time, it was pointed out that that's very male-centric. And so suddenly it became the clam slam. And I'm sort of thinking that this is kind of happening here.
Yeah.
But based on roosters and such. So
roosters and such. But yeah, I don't have an answer. I'd love to know people's thoughts. What's the best name for a full goal game?
Yeah.
Also,
hi,
Mom.
Anna's mom. I love how you and I knew that needed to be said. So back to the game itself. So the Seattle Torrents played a much better game at home than they did up here in Vancouver. They carried the play for the most part. Yes, the Goldeneyes did have a lead midway through the third period, but scored 3 unanswered goals to take themselves at, essentially a 2-goal lead with 2 minutes. Well, I say 4 minutes actually, because when that goal went in, 4 minutes left in the game. Danielle Serdachny scores on the empty net, putting the Torrent up by 2.
Can I just pause there?
And the Goldeneyes come back and tie.
Have you ever seen an automatic goal be awarded? Okay. I don't think I have. I've seen it a lot in rugby, automatic tries, but yeah, if you weren't watching the game, Danielle Sanakdi, I don't know how to say her name, and I'm sorry about that, but yeah, she was taken down when she was charging towards the empty net, so automatic goal given. It does make sense. It's logical, so I do like logic and common sense, but yeah, I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, I mean, it's so the context in another sport. So like I'll use hockey. In a situation where a penalty shot would be awarded, but there is no goaltender, that's an automatic goal because you can't put a goaltender in after the fact. It's a more severe punishment. I'm trying to think what game it was where the goaltender knocked the net over as the Canucks were trying to score a goal, and that was
the Sharks
that's
game.
a good goal.
Yeah.
The puck.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's not an automatic goal, but the context is very similar. Is that you had done something that disrupted a sure goal, and therefore the goal is awarded instead of a what happened.
Insane move from Askarov, by the way. I don't think we talked about it enough, but just throwing the net over, it's crazy.
But yeah, Jen Gardner scored at 18:11 to get the Goldeneyes within 1, and 2 seconds left on the clock. Hannah Miller puts one past, I guess it would have been Jackson in net at the time, and eventually Jen Gardner, only a minute into the overtime, and I have to imagine the Seattle Torrent were just absolutely deflated, even seeing it go into OT, scores to notch the winner. Now, Goldeneyes, as you had said, not getting the win in regulation, were officially eliminated from the playoffs. You and I had accepted. Math was really the only thing that was on the side of the Goldeneyes. Winning in regulation wasn't going to be enough in the grand scheme of things. But the benefit of having won it in overtime is that the Seattle Torrent, having already been officially eliminated, are now on what the PWHL establishes as the gold plan. So to prevent tanks, once you're eliminated from the postseason, you then have to accrue points. And the team with the most points, having been eliminated, will get the highest draft pick. Now, if, let's say, the Torrent beat the Goldeneyes, that would have given them a substantial head start over the Goldeneyes, who then get eliminated. So in holding them just to 1, really, Seattle has a 1-point lead with 2 games remaining. Now that the Goldeneyes are out, they have 2 games remaining, so can catch up. 1 point is a realistic stepping stone. And there are actually still 2 spots to be determined, though, again, it would be hard to see that team coming in late suddenly getting it, but it is mathematically possible.
Yeah.
I will concede, though. I mean, the Goldeneyes do need to do something against the Frost and is it the Frost and the Fleet or the Victoire and the
Victoire
and
the
who
Frost.
It is in town.
Yeah.
Victoire and the Frost. Okay. Again, I mean, I'm talking about top teams in the league, really interchangeable. The Goldeneyes need points out of those games.
Yes. But the only thing that would be on the side of the Goldeneyes is these teams are already qualified. What do
and
they
could
need to?
rest.
Yeah, they could rest players. I know. I mean, the Goldeneyes themselves have shut down Gabby Rosenthal. Signed a couple of their reserve players to finish up the year. So we'll see what happens in the off season. There is so much unknown about the off season, so we won't really get into
Still,
that. But yeah, the
yeah,
goal
both
plan.
games are here in Vancouver too, and these are teams having to travel from the east. So
Mhm.
being that they've, I mean, I don't know, have they locked position?
I
I
don't
can't say I've really been paying
believe
attention to the
so.
standings beyond Vancouver.
I don't.
No, I mean, arguably the
So
Victoire
they
and
do have stuff
Fleet
to
are
play for.
fighting. The Frost are essentially stuck at 3. The Charge can't catch, and I don't think the Frost can catch the Fleet. So Victoire is the one team who may want that, first overall.
Although in the previous 2 years, the first overall finisher has picked the wrong semi-finalist because
Mm,
they've got eliminated both times. So there you go. Maybe it's a curse if you finish first and you get punished for your confidence, your brash confidence.
yeah. What are your thoughts on the gold plan?
I'm in two minds. I mean, one thing I will say is, hold on, my computer is about to die, and I'm just slightly scared. Um,
Yes, I totally appreciate that. I mean, especially when you're recording a podcast and
yeah.
you suddenly, leave your co-host in a lurch, not knowing what's going on. Um, well, here, while you're
Okay.
plugging your laptop in, why
I,
don't
I
I
am
share my
plugged in,
thoughts? So
but you go ahead.
I I don't like the gold plan, but then I also don't like the NHL lottery. Like, I honestly understand why the lottery got brought in the NHL because you had the Edmonton Oilers consistently going and getting first overall picks. Um, I just look at it this way, like, yeah, teams tank? They do. You can't tell me they don't. And if you do, you're really, I think, maybe being naive. That's not to
Mm.
suggest players are deliberately going out there to lose, but organizations and teams don't always do what is needed to ensure that team gets wins. And if you think about how it works within the PWHL, like, the gold plan almost rewards teams to be eliminated earlier than later,
Right.
because then you can accrue points that no other team can catch up. So, like, arguably the Seattle Torrent, if they had just played even worse than they have over this season,
Mm.
get eliminated, and then suddenly go on a hot streak, they could finish further up the table, and obviously not in a playoff spot, but then also get rewarded with the first pick. So you're almost you're rewarding mediocrity in that regard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand the anti-tank model.
Yeah. So I would say I'm definitely in two minds about it because one, I do think, yeah, like the lottery isn't necessarily the best way to like go about draft order, but the goal plan I'm not convinced is the best either. I mean, I honestly think goal plan might work better in the NHL, like where you have
Well,
more
with more teams.
teams. Yeah, like
Yeah.
because with an 8-team league, it's hard to get eliminated from the playoffs actually. Like we're in the last week of the season and
Yeah.
we've only just had our teams eliminated. Um so you're really working with a small time period. Do you do percentage like wise,
Well,
like points percentage, but then if you win one game because you're eliminated on the last day, that doesn't seem fair either.
so yeah, I mean, the context is that they're rewarding teams with regulation wins. Like, they're still using the 3-2-1-0 system.
Hmm.
But I would prefer if instead of using the points, they actually used, like, regulation wins. So if a team had, let's say, 2 regulation wins and then the rest were losses, and everyone else had just 1 regulation win, okay, fine. I'd actually almost be amenable to the idea. But, like, you're giving a head start to teams who are eliminated because it's just points accrual. That 3, get that 2, get that 1. Just don't
Yeah.
get as many zeros. Um, And
And
then a team who's
also,
eliminated a little bit later is almost punished as a result.
yeah, and because it is basically like a mini league table, essentially, as soon as you're eliminated, because it's, yeah, as you say, it's the same number of points as the regular season.
To walk back just what I said though, like, you're like, Chris, well, how is a team who's eliminated later punished? You're right. They have no chance of getting that higher pick, as they probably shouldn't in my system, but it is a table within a table. Like it just feels to me that I applaud the creativity. Like, I love the jailbreak. I think it's a great idea. I actually have no issues with the jailbreak. I'd love to see it in the NHL, as hokey as people might think that be. Gold plan, I'm not it, but I don't like the lottery. So
I honestly do think we should spend some time in one of our next episode or soon about going through the PWHL kind of rule variations and which work and which don't. But yeah, the one thing I would say about the goal plan too, it's still, I understand they're trying not to mess with in-game results, but the fact that Vancouver got eliminated at the end of regulation, but didn't, like, they could only punish Seattle by winning in overtime, not gain anything themselves. Like, they can't make the playoffs. But
but that's the thing, is that the result of they were eliminated going into overtime.
Yeah, but their points still don't count towards the goal plan. Yeah,
because the game in itself was not complete, even though there was no conceivable way for them to then be a playoff contender. Anyhow, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You and I are going to take a short break. You're listening to the C4 Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna, Chris, and Craig.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on that.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? Because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So everyone was waiting with bated breath. What would the Vancouver Canucks do upon the end of the season? Would they make big changes? Well, as we had already talked about, they had made a change. It is arguably a big change, though big in air quotes, because let's be honest, when Jim Rutherford is your president of hockey operations and seems to be in on all the big calls, was Patrik Allvin truly the general manager? Yes. Jim said Patrik did all of this hard work, heavy lifting, all the contract stuff, blah, 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 blah. But most people are like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, sure.
Yeah.
Patrik Allvin was dismissed as general manager. I want to talk a little bit about that, what's going to happen in the search for a new GM, Adam Foote's future. But a few other things came out of the, Jim Rutherford presser. Jim Rutherford in front of a microphone in the press is always a rewarding experience, because Jim says stuff. And there are some things you wonder, me as a fan, I appreciate him, sharing what he does. But then sometimes it's like, I really wish you didn't say that, because it's not really helping, even though you're, confirming what we kind of already knew. So, like, what did he share? One, the dressing room culture was broken. And the fact that it got somehow magically fixed at the trade deadline, without him pointing any fingers, because he doesn't want to answer it, because he'd point fingers if he was forced to, kind of pointed fingers without intending to. What else? Oh, yeah. He knew that Quinn Hughes was leaving. The analogy that he drew upon also reinforced the fact that Quinn had no intention of coming back to Vancouver. And for whatever reason, they signed deals and contracts with players they thought Quinn would like that might convince him to change his mind, only for him to simply say, I'm not changing my mind. And then the team had to go and deal with said problem contracts. They offloaded one of them.
Yeah.
And have to sort of hold on to a couple more.
It's beyond bizarre to me that you would admit that. Like, I know he seemed to, when Quinn Hughes left, there was a lot of talk where Jim Rutherford was almost trying to keep his nose clean by saying, like, he wanted to leave for a long time. We just had to make it work. And also, it's not my fault because he's American, so he wants to go home. Just like Matthew Tkachuk. Like, why draft Americans then? Why sign Americans, especially Brock Besser and Tadjademko Gonagal? Like, insane behavior to admit that, and the fact that he said that he had signed all these contracts that, like you say, they're still dealing with some of those in a last-ditch desperate attempt. Like, to me, that's crazy. That you should admit that.
Well, so having grown up a Vancouver Canucks fan, like if a player had gone to Pat Quinn and said, I don't want to be here, Pat Quinn would have been more than happy to help them get out of town. If someone had gone up to Brian Burke and said they don't want to be here, Brian Burke would have been more than happy to help them get out of town. In fact, he would have given them a quarter to call a cab to take themselves to the airport. If Mike Gillis had gotten a player who said that they wanted to get out of town, he may have tried to make that happen. The only real example we have was Roberto Luongo. And if you missed it, Corey Schneider happened to be on, I think it was
Canucks conversation.
Halford and Bruff, or was Canucks conversation? Okay, where
maybe both.
It might have been. Yeah, and he was asked about it and how he was told, going into the offseason, you're our guy, Luongo wants out, and then all of a sudden he gets told that there's a trade and he's off to New Jersey at the draft, and it caught him by surprise. It caught Luongo by surprise. So who knows what happened there. But again, What am I getting at? Players who don't want to be in Vancouver, I'm not saying you don't say, hey, are you sure? Are you certain? But if they don't want to be here, they're not. That's not like we talk about hockey culture in many different ways here in our podcast. But if there's one thing I understand, if someone doesn't want to be there, there's never a good thing to have them stick around as part of culture. Like this came up late in the season where Adam Foote said he found it odd that the rookies were eating dinners on their own, and he'd never seen that before. And then in like the postseason pressers where Brock Besser was referring to the fact that, we were having team dinners again. How fractured is this team that the rookies are just like, you do you. And the veterans are not like having dinner together as a group.
Jim also said that, like, everyone's happy to be at the rink again. No one's afraid to be yelled at the rink. Like, what players were yelling at the rookies? Like, that's... Well, we know one of them. We know one of them for sure, but
he was traded last season. Like, this is the part that, like has me short-circuiting. Like, okay, you dealt with that, and then you started making decisions still, and anyhow. Where are we at? Well, we've got a player in Jake DeBrusk who has sort of said, if you read between the lines, he's not in for a rebuild, doesn't really want to be here. And in fairness to him, he's also been in the doghouse with the currently employed coach in Adam Foote. Brock Besser, to his credit, has said he wants to be here. He seemed to be, dare I say it, kind of holding court.
Yeah,
a little bit. Petey has said he wants to be here. He considers Vancouver home. I do believe, obviously, more conversations have to happen in that respect. And we also learned that he and his wife had suffered another personal tragedy. So again, with everything going on the personal front, there's no way that doesn't impact the professional side of the game.
Yeah.
So, I kind of wonder if a corner has been turned.
Yeah.
But that fact remains, there's no GM and a president of hockey operations who may or may not be around beyond the draft.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I don't know how to... It's funny to say I don't know how to read Jim Rutherford's comments when usually he's so frank and way too honest about everything. But, he was very cagey about his future with the team, whether he's just around for a new GM search, or then going to take a step back, or he's sticking around. But is that just to not scare off potential GMs who don't want to be under his thumb? I don't know. I don't know if he's being that clever, but I do. At least gives me some hope that a new GM would have space to kind of drive their own car.
And he was asked, though, like, essentially, how do you expect to hire someone to be a GM under you if the perception is that you're having to get, called in and you're the one making the deals? And Jim's like, that's a fair question, which anytime Jim says that's a fair question, he's essentially agreeing with you. And then he gives you the spin as to which he wants to provide. But he then tried to sort of walk that back by saying, well, I don't expect the GM to be, negotiating the practice facility or determining where training camp's going to happen. That's the president. But the GM does all the other hockey ops stuff. And yeah, that's pretty sure that's not what's going on when Patrik was here. And Patrik
that's
is
the thing.
Jim's guy.
Like, I understand the idea behind having a president and a GM, like, in some ways, but yeah, the day-to-day reality of Patrik Allvin was not one of someone in control of the direction of travel. So yeah, and is that someone we want picking our next GM? Like, don't get me wrong, Jim Rutherford, been a long time in the game.
Ownership's going to be involved in those conversations.
I mean, they involve themselves in pretty much everything, so... But yeah, Jim Rutherford's time in the game also, like, I don't want to see his buddies get the first look, or the cheapest option, which would be Ryan Johnson. Not to say that, like, Ryan Johnson would be a terrible choice, just he can't be...
Did you see Thomas Drance reporting? Drance was suggesting that Jim wanted to announce the Abby progression plan and was told by ownership, no, we need to do a search. So if that's true,
that's
ownership pumped the brakes on that, then maybe the Abby progression plan isn't what ownership wants, which at that point means can't imagine Jim sticks around if that's what he wants. Like, I don't know. I'm just, again, referring to what Thomas Drance had shared.
Right, and obviously Drance knows what he's talking about, but yeah, that's the thing. I just want to see that thorough search, whether you're looking at it. Like, Sonny Meta obviously just got the job in New Jersey, big stats guy. Do we need a computer boy? Do we need a guy with a scouting background? Like, I tell you for sure who we don't need, and that's, like, Ron Francis, like, Jim's old buddy, Ron Francis, or, any of the other
Dale
old
Talon's
boys.
music.
Or Dale Talon. Like, yeah, it's just...
Oh, I don't know. I'm... Like, I do hope they actually do perform a search. Like, thinking back to when when ownership let Jim Benning and his front office go, they were going to take their time and do due diligence. And Stan Smeal was brought in to sort of mind shop, and Stan got 2 games before Jim Rutherford was announced because it was such a thorough search that Jim Rutherford was the guy in like a day.
Yeah.
That is not a thorough search unless you've been searching for a long time, which may have been the case, but that didn't seem to be.
And I sure as hell they haven't, like, they've got their draft plans in order, because even getting, like, you would hope they're sitting behind a table for the draft, but...
Well, the fact that you hope the scouting department is there, because their contracts could, like, they don't have contracts apparently in the next season.
Yes, which apparently, like, they have faced up before, and they were said, we aren't going to do that again. Don't worry, guys. And here we are. Yeah. It happened again.
Cannot wait that, they show the Canucks table. It's like Francesco and I don't know, can't remember which brother it is that's still involved.
Crazy
and
P.
Adam Foote at the table. And Crazy P. Could you imagine
and
Crazy
Finn.
P going out there? The Vancouver Canucks proud to announce. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they'll probably put Chris Higgins because he looks good in a suit. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Big fans of Ryan of what RJ has done in Abbotsford and for Vancouver.
Mhm.
Big fan of Manny Malhotra, but like, do a wider search, cast a wider net. Like, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And
Oh, anyway, we'll be back next week, and maybe the Vancouver Canucks will have made a decision with a long search that took a day or two. But before we look to wrap up, Stanley Cup playoffs have kicked off. Walter Cup playoffs, they'll be kicking off in a weekish as a time. Who you got winning the Stanley Cup there, Anna? Who's your team?
it's got to be Colorado. If they don't, they will have disappointed their fans and their families and everyone. So,
Oh my goodness.
Colorado.
Who you got them facing in the East?
That's the thing. I don't want to go too off the rails here, but as much of a dumpster fire as the Pacific is, you still end up with a worse team in the East, no matter how you shake it, because there's at least one team in the West better than all the teams in the East, at least. I just think there's a lot of good teams in the East, and there hasn't been a great one for a while. End of rant. And that includes the Florida Panthers. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'd love to see Montreal there. I'm feeling it might be Tampa or one loss for Alpha Sid. Like, I really don't know.
So anyone who ever asks me, like, oh, you're watching the NHL playoffs? And I always answer, like, wait, you mean there's hockey beyond Thursday? Like, that's my long-standing tradition. When the Vancouver Canucks are done, I'm done. But if you were to force me to pick and choose, I'm choosing the Canadian as winning the Stanley Cup playoffs over the Colorado Avalanche. So it's kind of funny that you would say, oh, I could see Montreal. Now, like, that level of prediction is a stretch. Like, I think you're more on the mark, the Avs winning it, but there's something about Montreal that has me thinking that they're starting to like tune up at the right time. I know there's a lot of people who are big on the Sabres. I just don't want the Sabres to win because expansion cousins or whatever you want to call them can't win before the Canucks. There's people who are high on the Mammoth. I don't get it, but
no, and I will say I'm very impressed by the Mammoth as a team, as an organization. I mean, you've got Ryan Smith shaking hands with fans before games, but yeah, I actually don't know if they have won tonight. Everyone that's listening now will know. They are 2-1 up, but it's only halfway through. We'll see.
And who do you got winning the Walter Cup?
Boston.
Yeah?
Like Frankel's too good.
Yeah. I don't disagree. There's something about the Victoire. Like they have been, like, that's what I was gonna, not necessarily what I was gonna say, but that's hardly a better way to describe it. They are fun. Like, there's something about the way they play the game that I like it. But you're probably much better educated with PWHL than me, and you're probably right. The Fleet are it. The problem is we don't know which of the Charged, Scepters, and Sirens is going to make it. Sirens, they have math problems.
They do have math
still
problems.
there, but they got math problems. Charge and Scepters, I don't want to say one over the other, but wouldn't be something if the Scepters don't make it in and yet have more regulation wins than the team ahead of them. Like, again, you can't lose games, but the losses for the Scepters have been in overtime, and the wins for the Charge have been overtime. Like, that's blows my mind with that 3-2-1-0 point system in such a sort of small league.
Because I'm a hater, I think I would enjoy that because it's a Toronto team, so that's just funny.
Fair play. So as we wrap up our show, if you reach this point and you're wanting to support us, one of the best ways to do it is to tell your friends and family about our show. New subscribers are always welcome. As you can tell, if you've reached this point and you're new, we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's one of the reasons why when anyone asks, how popular is my podcast? I'm like, we're number 137 out of 137. And if someone comes in at 138 ain't no way they're taking the best mediocre mantle from this podcaster's, crusty hands, because I'm old.
Yes.
But we also love when people financially support the podcast. If you go to buymeacoffee.com/C4podcast, buy me a coffee, otherwise known as...
Buy me a pint.
You can throw a few bucks our way. If you do it as a one-off gesture, that truly buys the pints that Anna and I, at one point in time this summer, will get together and consume. But if you wish to support us on a recurring basis, either monthly or annually, $5 a month or $50 for the year, that money goes directly into helping us pay the bills, keep the lights on for the show, and help us continue to record season after season. That mantle, longest running Canucks and Goldeneyes podcast, because I still have yet to find one that's been talking about Goldeneyes longer than us, though there are a few other Goldeneyes podcasts out there. That one needs sort of the help to pay those bigger bills. And the more that you're able to help us do that, the harder it is for Anna and I to simply say, we can't do it no more, we broke.
Mm-hmm.
We're a gate-driven podcast, just like the Vancouver Canucks are a gate-driven team.
Yeah.
We just don't have the luxury of raising our season ticket prices.
Yeah, unfortunately not. This is not the first time that the lights have literally gone off on me, because it was so bright when we started the podcast that I forgot to turn my light on, and now it's very dark.
Yeah. If you want to find our back catalog of episodes, c4podcast.com has the bulk of them. Unfortunately, there are a few from the early days that are lost in time. I have a handful of them, but many of them, unfortunately, are gone. But we are the longest running, trust me. If anyone tries to claim that title, they are liars. You can find us on social media at the C4 Podcast on X, the real C4 Podcast on Threads, and at c4podcast.com on Blue Sky, and as A4Size03 everywhere, and I'm Lightforce everywhere. Any final words of wisdom, Anna, as we wrap things up?
Once again, giving a shout out to someone that I know doesn't listen to the podcast, and that's my dad. I know he doesn't. And if he somehow decided to, at this late juncture, as first of all, I'm sorry about saying clit, and
which you said again.
Which I said again, and sorry to listeners because I didn't warn them that time. But the second message I would say is, well, good luck on the Boston Marathon, because that is what he is running tomorrow, because he's a crazy man. And
that's crazy. Good luck.
He's run quite a few marathons. Yeah, at this point. But yeah, that's the big one.
Final words of wisdom from me. Don't run marathons.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm not going to tell you.
No, I think it's good.
Do something, but don't.
But don't run marathons.
Yeah. Vancouver Sun Run was today. I saw a few people I know in the Sun Run, and I'm like, why are you doing that? I get it, but I don't. Yeah. Anywho,
I was in my pajamas watching Arsenal lose a very important game of football, but I was still better off.
I was fully dressed watching that happen, so.
Yeah.
But I did get up to see Liverpool win. So on behalf of Anna, A4Size03, myself, Chris at Lightforce, and the guy recording everything behind the scenes, Craig, we out.